The New York Jets have raised their record to 3-3 heading into the bye. We're going to talk about the defense, just how good has it been. We're going to talk about the offense, break down some of the red zone situations going on. And I got some thoughts about baseball. I got some thoughts about hockey. So much to get into. It's Wednesday night. It's 10 p.m. and we're live. And welcome to New York Sports WickerMedia, everybody. I'm Watts UK99. Thank you, as always, for joining me for Wednesday Night Live. Man, oh man. And we actually did a video a little bit earlier today that I'm getting some feedback on, making my case how the 2020 Jets draft class may not be as bad as some would have you believe. Feel free to watch it. You might agree, you might disagree. That's cool. But hey, I decided to take on a challenge, and I tried to make my case why the draft class may not suck as much as some people want to think it does. But all right, let's take a quick look at the chat. Hank G, good to see you, my friend. Glad that you're here tonight. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we got a few things to talk about, a whole lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any time at all. Let's get it going tonight with a little bit of 3 and out. So first, a little bit of baseball playoffs going on. As I'm recording this right now, the Houston Astros lead the Texas Rangers 5-2 in the 7th inning in Game 3. Shockingly, Max Scherzer comes up small. 4 innings, 5 runs allowed, a home run allowed, nearly allowed 2 or 3. But Max Scherzer doesn't come through in a big spot. Well, color me shocked with that one. But there is a Texas Rangers pitcher who has been coming through in these playoffs. Now, I'm going to talk about him for a second. His name is Jordan Montgomery. He's going to be a free agent after this season. His price is going up. I might even take him over Blake Snell, who's going to win the Cy Young in the National League. But what's amazing is the St. Louis Cardinals had him. They could have extended him before this season. He spoke a lot this year about wanting to remain in St. Louis past his current arbitration deal. But Montgomery, he had plenty of good stats. But since the 2023 trade deadline, when he was traded to the Texas Rangers, he's only gotten better and better and better. So this year, up until the deadline, he had a 3.85 ERA, a 1.21 walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. He was striking out just under 9 batters per 9 innings. But he was a workhorse, pitching in at least 150 innings in 3 of his 5 full seasons. Now, he didn't make any All-Star games, never got any Cy Young votes, but he was very consistent, and he was the best pitcher on a Cardinals staff that needed help. But since the trade to Texas, he's made a case that he deserves a 9-figure contract. 11 starts with the Rangers. He's got a 2.79 ERA, a 1.09 whip in 67 innings pitched. He has gone at least 7 innings in 4 of his 11 starts for Texas. He has failed to make it into the 6th inning 1 time only. And then in the playoffs, well, Jordan Montgomery's pitched even better. In the wild card game against Tampa Bay, he shut them down for 7 innings, allowed 6 hits, no walks, struck out 5. Didn't have as good of a game against the Baltimore Orioles, but against the Houston Astros, the modern dynasty of baseball, against the Astros, he goes 6 1/3 innings, gives up 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, and no runs. So I'll tell you what, both the Mets and the Yankees need to be in on him. I think the Mets more so because the New York Mets need 2 or 3 starters for the 2024 season. But I will say, it would be very ironic to see the New York Yankees pursue Jordan Montgomery after they traded him to St. Louis for Harrison Bader, an outfielder who's no longer on their team. And then the Yankees had to go out and give 6 years and $162 million to Carlos Rodon, a free agent signing that is looking like a disaster. And I never even wanted him on the Mets because I knew his injury history pitching for the White Sox. I knew it was not going to be a good idea. I just didn't know it was going to go to pot in year 1. So both New York teams need to be in on Jordan Montgomery. All right, that's one. Let's go to number 2. I'm going to give you a little bit of hockey here. The New York Rangers win their home opener 2-1 over the Arizona Coyotes. Igor Shesterkin was fantastic, and he needed to be. The Rangers went 12 minutes in the second period without a single shot on goal. And then with 5 minutes left, under 5 minutes, Rangers up a goal. Arizona gets a penalty shot. Jason Zucker comes in, the ex-Penguin, and Shesterkin stops him as calmly as you can. Shesterkin is now 4 for 4 in stopping penalty shots in his career. And I thought it was interesting what Rangers center Vincent Trocheck said after the game about the penalty shot. He said, quote, "You can almost say I'd rather them have a penalty shot than a power play. 2 minutes can create a lot of momentum, and when you have a guy like Shesty back there, he's going to save a lot of those." Fascinating because, very often, it's just one play, good chance to get a goal, but when you have a goalie that reliable, maybe that's a better bet than the 2-minute power play. Very interesting. And a shout out to Ryan Lindgren, Rangers defenseman. He is a machine. He missed the Columbus game with a hand injury, but found his way back into the lineup for the home opener. The bottom line is the Rangers struggled to win without Lindgren. He is super reliable on D, the perfect complement to Adam Fox. And now the Rangers face Nashville Thursday night. All right, that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to give props to another local hockey team, the New York Islanders, with a 2-0 record. They win last night, 1-0 over the aforementioned Arizona Coyotes. Ilya Sorokin in goal didn't have to have a huge game, made only 14 saves. Through 2 periods, Islanders were controlling this game. They had a 24-7 advantage in shots on goal, but had just 1 goal for the game, scored by Matthew Barzal. Now, they've beaten Buffalo and Arizona by a goal each. Friday night, though, they get a test. They host the New Jersey Devils. Let's see how they do when they face that team. All right. So let's give a quick little bit of love here to some other folks who have stopped into the chat. Jets mess. Man, I don't know what the show would be without him because he is here. If Jets mess didn't leave an early comment, something would feel like it was missing for the show. No doubt about it. And some guy, known him for a little while, saw him in Ryan's show at Jets 24/7. If you're a Jets fan, I don't know how you're not following Jets 24/7. Now talking Jets as well, but definitely check that channel out. Some guy, I'm glad you're here. All right, well, let's get into the main topic of the show. And the way that I'm feeling right now, there's only 4 letters left to say, so let's all say them together. And we're even rocking the helmet tonight. I'm feeling pretty good. Well, let's straighten that guy out. Yeah, there we go. That's a pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of a balanced fit with the helmet, but oh boy, yeah. So I got my. This is like my backup helmet. I saved the green '80s logo helmet for the games. So. All right, so I got a few things here I want to talk about tonight. Number 1, and this is just a reminder, Jets fans. The number of days that it has been since the opposing defense has been called for roughing the passer against the Jets offense. I have started putting this out on Twitter every single day. I started this week. I'm going to keep tweeting it until the streak ends. You can follow me at WA2K_1999 if you would like to follow. I do get a little bit uncensored on there, just letting you know. But the number of days since the last time the Jets offense has had a roughing the passer called in their favor. How long has it been? 668 days, guys. It has been December of 2021. It was Andrew Van Ginkel of the Miami Dolphins roughing Joe Flacco. Yep, Zach Wilson couldn't even get one for him in 2021. Couldn't even get it then either. And since then, in case you're wondering, the Jets defense has had 10 roughing the passer penalties called against them. Can you say bias here? Just saying. So 668 days. And you know what, guys? I'm going to keep putting it up here every single week until this streak ends. So this time next week, I guess it'll be 675. All right. So with that out of the way, now I had said this about where the Jets are overall. Okay, they're 3-3 right now. And after the game against Kansas City, after they lost that game, I said I wanted them to go 4-1 in their next 5 games. That stretch against Denver, Philadelphia, the Giants, the San Diego Chargers. I said San Diego, sue me. And the Las Vegas Raiders coming off a short week. I wanted 4-1 in that stretch. I wanted that because I wanted a 5-4 record. I wanted to be above 500 going into those two games in the division at Buffalo and home against Miami in back-to-back weeks. I felt that was really important. Now they're 2-0 so far, which is great. Certainly the toughest opponent is behind them. In theory, I felt Philadelphia was as tough a matchup as the Jets would have all season. But here's the thing. The Jets are 2-2 in the AFC. That is going to be very important. Those conference tiebreakers are so big right now. I mean, you've got two teams of 4-1 in Miami and Kansas City. You've got three teams at 2-4 or worse between Tennessee, New England, and Denver. And then you've got really 11 teams all right there scrunched up in the middle. And these conference tiebreakers are going to make such a difference. Now, in particular, the two teams coming up, the Raiders and the Chargers. Here's what I want to say quickly about them. The Raiders, you know what? They're 3-3, same record as the Jets. But I'll tell you right now, they've got a minus 31 point differential. All right. Jimmy Garoppolo did not practice again today. Color me shocked. So there's a good chance Brian Hoyer will be playing this weekend. You know, and look at who the Raiders have beaten up to now. They beat Denver by 1 point. They beat Green Bay by 4 at home. They beat New England by 4 points at home. This is not exactly San Francisco, Buffalo, and Miami we're talking about here, guys. Okay? And that New England game, that was the first time this season they had scored 18 points or more. So pardon me if I'm not exactly worried about the Raiders as of right now. Now, the Chargers, we know what they usually are. Their two wins are against Minnesota, and they did beat the Raiders. They've lost to Miami, Tennessee, and Dallas, but every single one of these games has been decided by a touchdown or less. So I'll tell you this right now. I am very glad that game is in MetLife Stadium. I hope it's a rainy, windy day. It helps nullify that passing attack. But I got to tell you what, Justin Herbert is a very talented quarterback, but I don't have the confidence that he's going to lead this team to a Super Bowl. You know, watching that last game, I mean, he missed Keenan Allen like wide open a couple of times. I mean, my goodness, these are not throws that the best quarterbacks miss. All right. So, you know, with the Raiders and Chargers, I've got no reason to believe that the Jets can't beat both of those teams. And man, oh man, if they could go in 6-3 on a 5-game winning streak heading into the Miami and the Dallas and Buffalo stretch, wow, that would be pretty friggin' awesome. All right, so now we're going to do one thing that we started doing every single week. We're going to talk about snap counts. You know, what I'd like to do is take a look at who's getting the bulk of the playing time and see how it's evolving. So we're going to talk a little bit about the offense, the defense. We'll get into some news and notes with both the offense and the defense as well. We'll go around the AFC East. We'll do our roundups of Buffalo, Miami, and New England, what's going on with them. And, of course, we've got trivia coming on a little bit later tonight. So a whole lot to do here. All right. So as far as the snap counts go, let's talk about the offense first. Now I'm not messing with the offensive line. There's really nothing to talk about there except Max Mitchell came in for Joe Tittman. But looking at the running back situation, you got Breece Hall out of 65 snaps. Breece Hall took basically 2/3 of those snaps with 43. Michael Carter had more snaps than Dalvin Cook did for the first time. Carter had 13, Cook had 9, but when Cook was on the field, he was getting handoffs. Michael Carter, on the other hand, he only had, I believe, 1 run, so he's being put in there a lot for, pass protection, as a decoy, that kind of thing. It's almost like when Dalvin Cook's on the field, you can pretty much rest assured, for the most part, he's getting a handoff, and I think other defenses know about that. Nick Barden did indeed play, had 6 snaps at fullback. And then you look at tight end. Very interesting here. Tyler Conklin, 46 snaps. CJ Uzama, 24. And Jeremy Ruckert, he's almost close to getting past Uzama for the snap count. He had 23. And that is pretty fascinating to me because there have been a number of games this year where Jeremy Ruckert had single-digit snaps. But this week, Nathaniel Hackett saw fit to use 2 tight ends a good amount of the time. He even used 3 tight ends on the field at times, too. Let's do a quick look here. So some guy, what's going on with Izzy? You know what? He hasn't been activated for a game yet with Izzy Abanikanda. And I think until he has to pick up some of the nuances of playing running back, they probably want him to, pick up a blitz, learn how to block a little bit, because you don't want a running back who, when he's on the field, all he can do is run the football. So that is something to keep in mind. I would love to see him get on the field and get a few snaps per game, but he's not going to be there until the coaching staff trusts him. And if that takes a little bit longer during the season, then I'm okay with waiting on him. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Hey, let's be thankful we don't need him right now because Brees is looking as good as he is. Now, I left out. I actually have a little bit more on the wide receiver. I only put Gibson and Hardman in, but I'll give you a few others. Okay, out of the 65 snaps, Garrett Wilson had 57. Alan Lazard had 50 snaps, so those two were far and away the most. Randall Cobb had 36 snaps. He was on the field half the time, more than half the time during this game, which I don't think any of us need to see. After that, you had Gibson with 7, Hardman with 6, and Irv Charles played 5 snaps. Now, as we know, McCall Hardman has been traded back to Kansas City today. It's a 7th-round pick in 2025, and Hardman going back to Kansas City in exchange for a 6th-round pick in the 2025 draft. This is really a Joe Douglas special. It's the 7th and the player for the 6th. It feels like he's done this a couple of times. He did this with Denzel Mims, although it wound up being conditional. I think he's done it with 1 or 2 other players too, right? But I think we knew this was the one trade that would happen and made all the sense in the world to happen. It will give Gibson hopefully more of an opportunity, maybe Jason Brownlee as well, although he did play. I guess based off what we're seeing here, Irv Charles is actually ahead of Jason Brownlee. And I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that Irv Charles has become a real player on special teams. So I guess right now, my big thing, it really hasn't been about Gibson versus Hardman. Now it's really going to be about Gibson versus Randall Cobb. Because let's be honest, Randall Cobb here is one of Aaron Rodgers' chosen ones. If he's not playing with Aaron Rodgers, why is Randall Cobb even in the league? I know he caught the 2-point conversion, big deal. And then he had to flex, he had to flex after he caught the 2-point conversion. Yeah, thanks a lot, Randall. Thanks for finally doing something. But, with all due respect to him, what does he really give this team? The Jets are limited at wide receiver. We know what Garrett Wilson is. We know he's a superstar. We love him. But after that, Alan Lazard's a good player, but he's not great at getting separation. And then after that, you're running really, really thin on wide receiver depth. So let's see what Gibson can do. Cobb may be a veteran presence, but, his best days are a decade behind him. So it may be a situation really where the Jets have to go out and consider getting another receiver or, maybe promoting Brownlee, and let's see what these different guys can do. But we'll get into the red zone situation a little bit later on tonight because I want to break down all the red zone drives against Philadelphia, see what the Jets were doing. But to me, we've been talking a lot about Kirk Cousins and do the Jets need to get a quarterback and do they need to get an offensive lineman? They may need to get a wide receiver. And God knows I want Corey Davis. God knows I'm a Corey Davis supporter. I supported the guy for years, and I knew it was going to be a blow when he left. And, I just wish, with all due respect to him, that he had made the decision before training camp started because it left the Jets in a bind. They couldn't really counter. By then, DeAndre Hopkins had signed. Other players had signed as well. Obviously not Julio Jones, not that I needed him. But, yeah, that's just the frustrating aspect about it. Jets mess. Cobb is a cup bearer for Rodgers. Yeah, I think so is Dalvin Cook. I don't think there's really a difference. Cobb is another punt return option. Yep, some guy with a good point there. Gibson did have 2 fumbles against Denver. Thankfully, the Jets were able to recover them. Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's fine. If you want to keep Cobb on the roster as return depth, that's fine. But you know what? He doesn't need to be playing half the snaps in these games. It's not helping this offense. It's just not making a difference. I mean, think about it. Philadelphia. Think about all they were missing. They were not only missing Darius Slay, they were missing Bradley Roby. Reed Blankenship went out of this game. They were down to, I think, their 4th nickel corner and their 4th safety. They were really banged up. And let's be honest, the Jets struggled to take advantage of a depleted secondary. Now, I know the pass rush was there. I know Philadelphia has a fantastic pass rush. We talked about it. But yeah, it's just they were not able to really take advantage the way that I thought they might be able to. So maybe they do need to, I've heard the possibilities. Carl Lawson for Hunter Renfrow. I think that's been an idea mostly bannered about by the fans as opposed to media or people around the league. And rarely do you see a player-for-player trade in the NFL, but this might be a situation where that could make sense. I could see that, but I could see that possibly working. I'd be open to it. Nothing against Carl Lawson. I feel bad for the guy. He looked like he was going to be a stud, but the injuries have clearly taken a toll on him, and we'll get into that in a moment with the defensive snaps as well. All right. A few stats on the offensive line here. So Mekhi Becton didn't have his. Actually, I'm gonna. Yeah, let's get rid of that. We'll bring that slide back up in a little bit. But a couple of stats with the offensive line. Mekhi Becton was tagged with 6 pressures allowed and a sack on Sunday. Not so good. Laken Tomlinson, who's been better this year, he gave up 5 pressures and 2 sacks. Not a good day for the left side. Wes Schweitzer, in relief of Joe Tippmann, allowed 3 pressures and a sack. Connor McGovern, 2 pressures. Max Mitchell, 2 pressures. Joe Tippmann, sad as it is, allowed nothing in his 9 pass blocking snaps. So this was not a good day for the Jets' offensive line in terms of pass blocking. I still think Zach Wilson played a pretty good game in light of all the pressure he was facing over the course of the game. But I'll give you something positive, and I did not expect this. You know who the best run-blocking offensive lineman was graded at with a 75.9? It was Max Mitchell, the right tackle. I would not have expected that. I felt most of us thought that when Max Mitchell came in for Elijah Vera Tucker, the hit would be really felt in the run game as opposed to the pass blocking. But Mitchell actually had a good game run blocking. So that is something to be very encouraged about. Wes Schweitzer, not so good. He had a 47.3 run blocking grade. Ugh. That is very unsettling to say the least. But you know what? Schweitzer's going to have to play for the foreseeable future because I don't think we can expect Joe Tippmann back anytime soon. Now, with the injuries, we don't know. Robert Saleh is not giving an update on injuries until next week. But I don't expect to see Tippmann back for at least a couple of weeks. All right. I want to give you a couple of other offensive stats that are concerning me. And I'm going to talk about some red zone situations here. So the Jets are running on average 56 plays on offense per game. That's 30th out of 32 teams. Now, why is that? Why are these drives not taking that long? I'll give you a couple of reasons. Their third downs, they are converting on average 3 third downs per game. That is last in the league. They're converting 25% of their third downs. That's also last in the league. And in the red zone, they're converting 29% of their red zone trips into touchdowns. Now, an average team in the league is averaging about 55% conversion rate. Okay, so the offense, they're moving the ball pretty well between the 20s. They can make some big plays. Brees will break off a run. Ty Conklin will catch a pass. Garrett Wilson will catch a pass. You will see progress get made. But then when the money time comes, when they get into the gold zone, yeah, they are not able to punch it in less than 30% of the time, and it's 31st out of 32 teams. So here's what I want to do. We are going to break down the red zone plays that the Jets had against Philadelphia. And in case you're wondering, no, that gold background is not a coincidence. Nathaniel Hackett calls it the gold zone. Well, let's just see how gold it is. All right. I guess I should have made the font a little bit bigger, but all right. I hope everybody can see that okay. All right, so drive number 1. They're on the Philadelphia 20. It's a 3rd and 8, and Michael Carter takes a penalty with a false start. It takes him right out of the red zone immediately. So you had a penalty there. Drive number 2. All right, so it's 1st and 10 from the Philadelphia 18. Zach aims the ball into the end zone for Garrett Wilson, incomplete. 2nd and 10, throws towards the end zone towards C.J. Uzomah, who didn't even really turn around. It's like he didn't even know the ball was coming. That was Uzomah's lone target for the game. So now it's 3rd and 10, and on that play, Zach Wilson gets sacked for a loss of 6. Zerline comes in to kick the field goal. All right, so these are 3 passing attempts, 2 incompletions, and a sack. All right, that's drive 2. Now on to drive number 3. Now, this one went a little bit longer. So on a 2nd and 1 from the Philadelphia 18, Brees goes up the middle for 6, gets the Jets a 1st down. All right, there we go. 1st and 10 from the Philadelphia 12, an incomplete pass, but there's a penalty on Wes Schweitzer for holding, and that takes the Jets out of the red zone, and it takes them back to the Philadelphia 22. And what did they do next? They tried 2 short passes to Randall Cobb, incomplete. Color me shocked by that one. And finally, on a 3rd and 20, a handoff to Michael Carter for 5 yards. Not good. So while the Jets are getting in the red zone, you can see this. When the Jets are getting in the red zone, it's not like they're inside the 10 or the 5-yard line. They're like in between the 15 and 20 and then out of the red zone. All right, that's drive number 3. But wait, the best is yet to come. Drive number 4. Okay, so the Jets have a 2nd and 2 from the Philadelphia 17. And on that play, they give the ball to Brees up the middle, gets 1 yard. That leaves a 3rd and 1 on the Philadelphia 16. Brees gets 3 yards. Very good. 1st and 10 from the Philadelphia 13. Then they throw their one complete pass that they threw in the red zone all day, a short pass to Garrett Wilson for 5 yards. And on the next play, you remember this one. This is where they try play action. Hassan Reddick is basically, it felt like he was unblocked. Zach turns around and boom, he gets annihilated for a loss of 12 yards, making it a 3rd and 17. They try and pass to Garrett, who was double covered. And once again, I sound like a broken record. There was a field goal. So that is really what we're looking at. And I'm leaving out drive 5 after the Tony Adams interception where they got the ball deep because let's be honest, we all know Philadelphia was basically letting Brees Hall run the ball into the end zone. They were basically two-hand touching it. Like, that's all they were really doing. So I can't even count that. So if we look at a summary of what we have here with those 4 drives, we had 4 runs for 15 yards. It's about 3.5 yards per run, 3.75 yards per run. And Zach completed just 1 of 7 passes for 5 total yards. But a lot of times these were deep balls going into the end zone or throwing short passes to frickin' Randall Cobb. Okay? But also, and this is important, 2 penalties, 2 sacks, which took him right out of the red zone. And this is also important. Out of all those plays that I mentioned, there were, how many plays were there? There were 5, 10, 13, 14 plays that we talked about, all right? Only 3 plays were inside the 15-yard line and 1 play inside the 10-yard line. So while the Jets were getting in the red zone, they weren't necessarily threatening, because of the penalties, the sacks, and the incomplete passes. Now, you can blame this on Zach Wilson. You can blame this on Nathaniel Hackett if you want. You can do whatever you choose, and you can make a fair case either way. But I would also throw in the offensive line for not pass blocking well enough. I know it's a challenge against the Philadelphia Eagles, but still, they really struggled in this department. So those are just some interesting stats, I thought, breaking down the red zone drives. And I don't think it's just as easy as blaming the quarterback or blaming the offensive coordinator. Hank G, they might be too slow in the red zone. Maybe speeding up the plays could help. You know what, Hank? It is taking a long time for them to get these plays off. No question about it. Maybe it's a thing where they're trying to run the clock down. Who knows? But yeah, I do think it would really help to have like a tall receiver who could just, go up and get the ball. Because you can't say that they were too conservative in the red zone. They were throwing the ball. They were trying to throw the ball into the end zone. They were really doing that, but there were some unforced errors that really killed most of those drives. Because when you have penalties, sacks, and all of a sudden you're facing 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 20, guess what? You're almost never going to score a touchdown based off of that. So yeah, so it is a multi-layered thing, and they face similar issues in Denver as well. And, that gives them something to really work on. So it's the red zone and it's the 3rd down conversions. If they can improve those 2 factors a little bit, you are looking at a pretty scary all-around football team because you have to feel great about the defense and you have to feel amazing about special teams. No question about it. Now, speaking of the defense, let's get into the defense a little bit. I'm going to pull the snap counts back up. Let's take a look at that for a minute, guys. So there were 70 defensive snaps. Now with the defensive line, Quinnen played 51 snaps. Jermaine Johnson right behind him at 50. Man, credit to Jermaine Johnson. As much time as he's had. Nothing but credit there. John Franklin Myers 43 snaps. Bryce Huff 35. Al Woods playing in the middle at 29. Quentin Jefferson close behind at 27. Then Carl Lawson is down to 21 snaps. Solomon Thomas at 18. And Will McDonald did get 18 snaps. I got to be honest, I didn't really notice WMC all that much. But he did get some time on the field. And it's getting to the point where Carl Lawson is not far off from being the least used defensive lineman on the field. But it's really interesting to me that Jermaine is as caught up as he is to Quinn Williams. Fascinating. Now at linebacker, C.J. Mosley played every snap. Quincy Williams played 51. Jamie Sherwood just 5 snaps. Yeah, Sherwood really only gets about 5-6 snaps a game. It's really surprising. I thought Sherwood was going to get a lot more time. I don't think he's had a good year. I don't think he's had a bad year. He's just been kind of there. You know, it's a situation where maybe the way the Jets are running their defense, maybe that's why they didn't keep Quan Alexander, because they knew they were planning to play, an extra player in the secondary most of the time. So they felt that the Sherwood would be in that spot. Yeah, hey, Clemens was not active. No, he wasn't hurt. Clemens just didn't play this particular week. He wasn't active. I think but we've seen this. I think the week before it was Lawson. Early in the season, it was Will McDonald. Yeah, so every week there's going to be a defensive lineman who's not active, and Al Woods was inactive for another game earlier this season too. So it's almost like a rotation of who's not going to be active, and in this particular game, it made sense because you have a very speedy quarterback in Jalen Hurts, and Michael Clemens. What he really does best, in my mind, is he's more of a run stopper than a pass rusher. Okay, I think Clemens. They tried to increase his weight, good weight, muscle weight, so he could play inside. It didn't really work. I think what he's going to have to do is go back to who he was his rookie season. Okay, I think he has to lose 20, 25 pounds, play on the edge, and then he'll have a little bit more of an ability to rush the passer. Because right now, he's really a run stopper on the edge and a special teams player. And against Jalen Hurts, that wasn't really going to be very helpful. Jets SMS says, so why keep Sherwood? Because after that, you have Zaire Barnes. I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's pretty raw, but Sherwood, from what I can see, is a very good tackler. He just doesn't get a whole lot of time on the field. But that's the thing, though. To me, like when you have depth, a lot of people tend to be very quick to want to make a trade. To lose that player to increase depth somewhere else or open up time for other players. I just have this thing in the back of my mind. If you trade somebody and lose your depth, all of a sudden one of those players ahead of him gets hurt as well. And all of a sudden it's like, well, why did we make that trade? So you got to be careful about that. I wouldn't lose Sherwood. I don't think it makes sense. Do you think Clemens getting weight hurt his play? I do. And again, it's not like he's putting weight on, like fat on. I think he did it the best way. I think the Jets staff tried something. I just don't think it's working best for him. So I hope Clemens drops a few pounds, and I think that is going to be more beneficial to him. So just my thoughts on that. With some other snap counts, a quarterback, Bryce Hall, all 70 snaps. Michael Carter II played 54 snaps. We know he had to leave for part of the game towards the end. Craig James, 41 snaps, who I think most Jets fans would now be taking a bullet for. And Tay Hayes, guys, I got to admit, I thought I knew the Jets roster. I thought I knew the practice squad. I had never heard of Tay Hayes. I had never heard of this guy in my life until I saw this guy trying to cover A.J. Brown. I'm like, who's this? Windrill Hayes? Chris Hayes? What Hayes is this? Michael P.S. Hayes? I mean, what are we talking about here? Von Hayes from the Phillies back in the day? I had no idea who Tay Hayes was, guys. Maybe you all did, and if you did, God bless you. You know more than I do. But I'll give Hayes credit. He played 13 snaps when, I think he'd been signed off the practice squad from San Francisco a week and a half ago from what I found out. But, he kind of hung in there. And even on that one amazing play that A.J. Brown made, some guy does, say, Willie Mays Hayes here. I run like Mays, but I cover like Hayes. That's right. But, he had a really, really tight coverage on A.J. Brown. And I got to give him credit for that. Brown just made a play that was ridiculous. A.J. Brown is an absolute beast. We know this. Not that I want to see Hayes over Sauce or DJ or Brandon Eccles, but I do give him credit for playing 13 snaps and, not being like an absolute liability. Like I remember one game many, many, many years ago when I think this was like the mid-90s. It was a Monday Night Football game. The Jets are playing the Raiders, and the Jets are down a bunch of cornerbacks, and Tim Brown was pretty much at his peak with the Raiders, and the Jets didn't know what to do, and they decided to put a defensive back, who I don't think had even played much defensive back, but they put Vance Joseph trying to cover Tim Brown. Yes, that same Vance Joseph, who's now the defensive coordinator in Denver. and Brown just torched him. He left Joseph naked on the field that night. I'm actually pretty impressed. The same thing did not happen with Tay Hayes here. So Tay Hayes, kid, well done. And then at safety, Whitehead and Tony Adams played every snap. You also saw Ashton Davis on the field for 28 snaps. Adrian Amos only got 1 snap though in this game, so his time really went down, and Ashton Davis's time went up. And I got to give Davis credit. I talked about that in the video I uploaded today about the 2020 draft. Davis is really earning a lot more defensive time this year than he has in previous years. The first 2 years, you could not count on him to cover. Last year, he played, I think, 10 to 15 defensive snaps for the whole season. Ashton Davis this season has already played 55 defensive snaps, half of them this past week. And I got to give him credit. A lot of Jets fans were calling him a bust, that he was overdrafted. And for the 3rd round, he very well may have been. But he is becoming a useful player on this team, plus his special teams ability. Plus, he has a couple of interceptions in his career. I think he's got 4 interceptions. And unlike some people on this team, when Ashton Davis gets his hands on a football, he catches the ball. Just an observation, Not saying Davis has the best instincts of any defensive back I've ever seen, but he makes interceptions when he has an opportunity. So I want to give Ashton Davis a little bit of respect there. All right, let's get out of that. All right, a couple other news and notes about the defense. So the Jets held the Eagles to their most consecutive drives without a point under Nick Sirianni. The Jets have not allowed a second-half touchdown in, I think, 5 of 6 games this year. The one they did allow was to Denver, and they have allowed 29 second-half points all season. Fantastic. Bryce Huff, I got to go back to him. In this game, 7 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, 1.5 sacks on 27 pass rush snaps. Basically, a quarter of the time that he tried to rush the passer, he got pressure. Now, did it help that Lane Johnson went out of the game at right tackle? Absolutely. This kid Driscoll did not know what hit him. 4 pressures in 11 matchups against Driscoll. Unbelievable. But I also want to give some love to John Franklin Myers. He is 12th among edge rushers in the league with 26 pressures. I feel like JFM is one of those guys, kind of like a Calvin Pace was for the Jets, where you didn't always necessarily appreciate him while you had him, but then after he goes away, it's like, he was a good player. So I really want to make sure JFM gets a little bit of respect and gets his props here, because I think sometimes the Jets fans were looking at Huff, we're looking at Quinnen, and Jermaine Johnson's emergence, and it's kind of easy to take John Franklin Myers for granted, but I want to give him some respect too. Quincy Williams, my God. I wanted the Jets to keep him and sign him to a contract, but even I could not have imagined he would emerge as well as he has. He is now the first player, Quincy Williams, the first player in Jets history to, in one game, have 12 tackles or more, a tackle for a loss, a fumble recovery, and a pass defense. I mean, Quincy is becoming a great all-around linebacker. Very instinctive, very smart, taking good angles on the tackles, which he had to learn how to do. Man, it is a pleasure watching him play defense. And Jermaine Johnson, his emergence has been something else. A lot of us were hoping he would have a breakout season. The first 4 games, he didn't really see it. He had 5 pressures on 107 pass rush snaps. That's less than a 5% pressure rate. The last 2 games, 63 snaps. He's had 9 pressures. That's over a 14% pressure rate. He has increased his pressure rate by 3 times over the last 2 games against Denver and Philadelphia. And again, Philadelphia, they got a dang good offensive line. We're talking Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelce, Landon Dickerson. The Eagles have a very, very good offensive line. It took a hit, as I said, when Lane Johnson went out, but Johnson was looking really, really good. He forced the ball out on that Quinnen Williams interception. He knocked the arm of Jalen Hurts, which led to the Bryce Hall interception, and constantly messing with the pocket. And I know Jalen Hurts had his yards. He's a great athlete. He's going to do what he's going to do. But Hurts was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. He was pressured 20 times by the Jets, and 17 of those 20 times were on a 4-man rush. The Jets are proving again, you don't have to blitz to get to the quarterback if you have the right personnel. And as much as I love Rex Ryan with his defense, the Jets were not getting home without a blitz because they didn't have those natural pass rushers. It was about scheme. It was about outsmarting the other team. With Robert Saleh, it's like, what's coming, but you got to stop it. And a lot of teams have not been able to stop it this year. And a few more props to the secondary, to Craig James, Bryce Hall, Michael Carter, and Tay Hayes. James had 2 targets, no catches allowed, no yards, and a pass breakup. I can't believe, if you had told me before this game, Craig James was only targeted twice in this game, I would have assumed he got hurt early on. That would have been the only logical assumption I could have had. Bryce Hall targeted 8 times, allowed 4 catches, 69 yards, had the interception. Michael Carter II was targeted 7 times, allowed 5 catches, but for only 27 yards. Not too bad. Tay Hayes, 3 targets, 3 catches allowed, 54 yards. Not too great, but he was on the field. What I think we said 13 times, I believe it was. I think it was about. I think it was. Was it? Yeah, 13 times. And the 3 times he was targeted, the other team did have a catch, and it was usually AJ Brown. So can't kill the kid for that. I'm just amazed they didn't try to go after him even more. Pretty amazing. AJ Brown was great. You knew he would be, but they kept him out of the end zone. And pardon me, we talk about the great draft class of 2021 with Brees, with Garrett, with Sauce, with JJ. You could throw in Max Mitchell and Michael Clemens as well if you want. But you know what? We also have to include Tony Adams, undrafted free agent. Credit to Joe Douglas. Credit to the scouting. And don't forget Tony Oden, the defensive backs coach. Good luck keeping Tony Oden past this season. The way he's been coaching this secondary, I would definitely expect Tony Oden to get a defensive coordinator job somewhere in the NFL next season. But again, the one reason I couldn't give the defense like an A grade, couldn't say it was a perfect game, they have to have a better start. The Jets have trailed at halftime in all 6 games of their season. All 6 games they've been trailing. There is only one team ever in NFL history that has trailed at halftime in their first 6 games and been 500 or better. And that was last year's Indianapolis Colts. Who would have believed it? So, yeah, the Jets have to get off to better starts. A first drive, 19 plays allowed that led to a very controversial touchdown. Make an impact play sooner. That's it. Other than that, this defense was as good as you could have ever expected them to be, considering they were down their top 3 cornerbacks. So credit to this coaching staff. We are wondering a lot. What is this coaching staff really going to be? Well, they are emerging as, they're doing their jobs. They are coaching these players up. Could things be better? Of course, especially on offense. There are things that could be better. But on the defensive side, man, oh man, I'm happy. Really, really happy. All right. Quick swig of water for the working man and woman. As the Houston Astros take an 8-4 lead into the bottom of the 8th inning against Texas, win this game, and they're down 2-1 in the series. I go into the Diamondbacks. Ooh, yeah. I'm just hoping they don't get swept. My God. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go around the AFC East a little bit and see what's going on with our friends in South Florida, Foxborough, and the Frozen Lake. All right. The Miami Dolphins beat Carolina 42-21. They're now 5-1. The Panthers got off to a good start, taking a 14-0 lead before the end of the opening period. Maybe that's what the Dolphins needed to wake up. Miami goes on to score 5 touchdowns on their next 6 possessions. And Raheem Mostert, wow, he had 3 touchdowns and ran for 115 yards on just 17 carries. He has a league-high 9 touchdowns already. I guess we can admit now the Dolphins did not need Dalvin Cook, and they didn't even need Jonathan Taylor. The strategy is pretty straightforward. Ride Raheem Mostert on the ground, work out a pre-snap motion, use a little bit of play action, and find Tyreek Hill as much as you can and Jalen Waddle when you need to. That's basically it. Tua connected with Hill 6 times for 163 yards and a touchdown. And so Tyreek Hill, his 163 yards, that accounted for all but 99 of Tua's 262 passing yards. And Hill is actually the first player in NFL history to have 150 or more receiving yards in 4 of his team's first 6 games. Yikes. That's probably only because they haven't played the Jets yet. I'm hoping. All right. And next week they've got Philadelphia Sunday night in Philadelphia, 8:20. So fly, Eagles fly, or whatever, however that thing goes. Yeah, but it's going to be tough to stop Miami. I still think, though, if you hit them in the mouth hard enough, I don't know if Miami's going to win like a defensive battle. I just don't have the confidence in them that they could do that. We saw that against Buffalo. And speaking against Buffalo, they managed to pull out a 14-9 win against the Giants, which they really shouldn't have had. They're now 4-2 on the season. Buffalo's offense kind of started the same way that it did against the Jaguars in the London game. They actually went scoreless for the entire first half. 3 punts, a missed field goal, 2 turnovers. So it took them some time to get going. Osiris Torrance, pass blocking very, very well. A lot of us you could hear a collective groan from Jets fans when the Bills were able to draft Torrance to improve their offensive line. Stephon Diggs was amazing. He was responsible for 66% of the Bills' passing yards. Now, Josh Allen is a little banged up. All right. He was injured when he fell on his shoulder during Sunday night's second quarter. He missed only 2 snaps. Today, the Bills did a walkthrough, and Sean McDermott is being very, very secretive about the status of Josh Allen for this week's game against the Patriots. Now, on defense, they've needed the youth to step up. They've had a lot of injuries between Trey White, between Matt Milano. And also they've had some players leave. Tremaine Edmonds leaving to go to the Bears at linebacker. Well, Terrell Bernard has stepped in, has a team-high 57 tackles. Also at linebacker, Dorian Williams, who a lot of us wanted. Dorian Williams was a favorite among Jets fans in these mock drafts. He just made his first start this past week, but McDermott loves him. Here's McDermott's quote about Dorian Williams. He's all about football and very serious in his approach. There is so much he didn't know based on his lack of experience. That will come through reps, but I love his attitude. The players love playing with him and have great respect for him at his young age because of his style of play. He goes all out, he's physical, and he's very serious about his job, end quote. So I think Dorian Williams, when the Jets see the Bills again, you're going to see a lot of Dorian Williams on the field at linebacker. Now, the Bills held the Giants for 0 for 4 in the red zone, although I think most of that is on the Giants' play calling. Oh, my gosh, and the referees as well. But anyway, the Bills will be at New England, 1 o'clock this Sunday afternoon. And finally, with New England, oh, my gosh. They lose 21-17 against the Raiders. They are 1-5. This offense is a train wreck. All 3 of their scoring drives against the Raiders took at least 9 plays. Their offense is like a crock pot. When it actually works, it takes hours for it to actually make it happen. And on that final attempt to take a late lead, Mac Jones threw one of his best passes of the year, and Devontae Parker dropped it. So the Pats were better, but they still weren't good enough. The offensive line has not figured itself out yet. Here's the stat for this offense. The Patriots are the only team in the NFL this season to not score more than 20 points in a game this season. Unbelievable. They are 31st in pass block win rate. I still can't understand. How did the Jets not sack Mac Jones at least one time in that game? How did they not do that? But anyway, pardon me. Allergy season's still kicking in. But yeah, so it'll be the Patriots hosting the Bills this Sunday at 1 o'clock. So Quickmire, thanks everybody for joining me tonight. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts. Yeah, put them down there. We'll get to trivia in just a little bit. Quick check. Looks like the Rangers have scored another run. It is now 8-5 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. All right. Yeah. Hey, actually, I got a question for you. I'll put it down there in the comments. What are you all going to do during the bye week with the Jets not playing this Sunday? I'm curious what y'all are. You still going to watch games, or is this a time to just take a little break from football? Yeah, for me on my end, I think what I'm probably going to do, I think I'm going to do a little bit of a getaway. I think I'm going to drive up to Richmond, about an hour away. Maybe go to a different sports bar. I found one, I think called Wood and Iron, and it's like 2 blocks away from one of my favorite barbecue joints. Called ZZQ. It's got that Texas-style barbecue where they slice the meats to order, which is when I see like everything wrapped in that big butcher paper and sliced to order, that's usually a good sign. But this is a really, really good place. They actually do pastrami on Fridays, which is amazing. But yeah, the brisket is great. I've been feeling ribs lately, so yeah, I think I got to get some ribs. And they smoke their beans, which is really, really great. And they make their own sausages, their Texas-style sausages in-house. So ZZQ, fantastic place. I think I might go there first and go to the sports bar after that and watch the early games. I'll probably pay some attention not only to Buffalo, New England, but I got to watch the Giants and the Commanders. And maybe do a little bit of scouting on what the Giants have going on because, the Giants are a team in turmoil. Daniel Jones, I don't expect him to play this week at all at this point. He's admitted as much. He still has pain in his neck. And so you might want the mobility of Tyrod Taylor going up against that Washington defensive line, which can be, pretty fierce against the pass. But Washington has a very weak secondary. Okay, they allow a lot of big plays. So this might be a situation where the quarterback needs to extend the play a little bit and run around. And right now, Taylor's more able to do that than Daniel Jones. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here in the chat. Some guy, what do you think of Hall versus Eccles in the depth chart? The way that Hall's playing right now, you know what? I like both players a lot, but I think it's going to be a situation where it'll be sort of a matchup situation, just figuring out which player works better in the right moment. But I think we've been reminded the last 2 weeks that Bryce Hall is a very capable NFL quarterback. But I still like Eccles too. Eccles, he hits hard. He has very good awareness. Plays special teams very well. That means a lot. So hey, maybe Eccles plays a little bit more on special teams, and if they trust Bryce Hall as the third outside corner, Eccles could focus a little more on special teams. That might be the way to go there. So, hey, if Hall can supplant Eccles, who am I going to complain? Who are we to complain, right? Root against the rest of the AFC East. David's a little hard when two of the teams are playing one another, right? I will be hoping New England beats Buffalo for sure. I don't want this to go on where we are the only team that New England has beaten all season. All right, so I hope New England gets another win relatively soon. I really, really do. Plus, I don't want them getting the number 1 overall pick. Okay. So, yeah, hey G, I think I just answered that one. Yeah, I think you got to root for the Patriots in that game. Yeah, you might feel a little dirty. You might need to take a shower afterwards. But yeah, the Jets are what, 1 game behind the Bills right now, right? Yeah, the Bills are 4-2. So yeah, I got to root for the Bills to lose. I mean, we got teams to catch in the standings. Right now the Jets are what, 9th or 10th in the AFC standings. If you wanna go there. So, yeah, the Jets have a 2-game cushion on the Patriots. So, yeah, I hope New England wins the game and both teams beat the living crap out of each other. And yeah, one would feel weird rooting for Philadelphia. I mean, man, oh man, I got to tell you guys, I turned on Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio. I turned on a couple of podcasts because I wanted to hear just how they were reacting, just how they were feeling about the loss, and the lack of respect that we were getting. The lack of, it just made me want to throw up. I heard one longtime Philadelphia radio host whose name I'm not even going to mention here because I don't want to give him the recognition. He said, quote, "The Jets did nothing to win that game." That's all I have to say to him, okay? Just screw you if you really think the Jets didn't do anything. The Jets pass rush messed with Jalen Hurts all game long. They messed with him. They may have only had 2 sacks, but they got into his head. They rattled him. All right. The Jets executed. The Eagles didn't. Maybe it just came down to turnovers, but you know what? The Jets took advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. And by the way, the best part, by the way, was hearing they even complained about some of the referee calls. What referee call does an Eagle fan have to be upset about? They were given a gift touchdown that should not have been a touchdown. And don't even get me started on that freaking Allen Lazard hit, which was legal, by the way. From the side, shoulder to chest. Sorry that Reed Blankenship got hurt. I wish the man a speedy recovery. But you know what? There was no helmet. It wasn't straight from the side. It was like from the side and up front. It was like a 45-degree angle, not like a 90-degree angle. Okay? It was a completely legal hit. And I could not believe that some of my fellow Jets fans were saying that Allen Lazard's hit was illegal. And I turned it around on a Philadelphia fan and I said, look, just think about this and give me an honest answer. If an Eagle had laid that hit on a Jet, would you still have thought that it was illegal? And, I asked him that question online. I wanted to know what he would say, and this is what I got back. Nothing but crickets, guys. You apply a little bit of logic, you turn it around on them, and you don't get an answer. What are you going to do? So, yeah, but I was amazed. Like, they were really emphasizing the Jalen Hurts interception and how well their defense played as well, which they did. I mean, yeah, credit to the Eagles' defense. They came through in the red zone. But, yeah, it was pretty amazing. that I had here somebody say that the Jets did nothing to win that game. And they still, really look at us as really, I guess, around the league still as a bad, mediocre team without Aaron Rodgers. And I think the focus is still on Zach Wilson. I think just because Zach Wilson is the Jets quarterback, people are assuming the Jets are not a good team still. But they battled Kansas City to the death. They beat Philadelphia. They've beaten Buffalo. The Dallas game was a disaster, and we know that. And I think a lot of us saw that coming off that high of week one, and then also dealing with the emotional turmoil of losing the quarterback. I really think it took the Jets a couple of weeks to get their mind right and figure out, okay, how are we going to change this? What are we going to do, especially on offense? Not that the offense has been great, but Nathaniel Hackett has had to counter hit everything. His game plan, Todd Downing also, passing game coordinator, all these guys on how to make the offense as effective as it can be for Zach Wilson. And they're still figuring it out, but they are figuring out maybe feed number 20. That might be a good way to do it, right? So, yeah, I really think it took until the Kansas City game for them to start to figure that out. And I have no reason to believe that it won't get better as the Jets go on and face teams that have, for the most part, lousy defenses. The Giants, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Dolphins defense hasn't been all that good. Washington, Atlanta, a lot of these teams have subpar defenses, and I really look forward to seeing what this offense can do against them. They're not going against Buffalo. They're not going against Kansas City, which was a top 5 defense in the league this year. Okay, so and New England had a good one at the time when they still had Judon and Gonzalez too. So I think that's something to keep in mind. The competition, yes, it's letting up, but I think the defenses are going to be more manageable than they have been previously. But I will be, like I said, very, very interested to see how the Giants come out in this game because they gave Buffalo a heck of a fight. They gave them some heart, but they weren't able to win. I hope the Giants win this game. I really, really do. It'll just be very interesting to see who plays quarterback. But I really think as long as the offensive line is still as limited as it has been, as long as Andrew Thomas, John Michael Schmitz, and Shane Lemieux are out, that offensive line, they're not going to be able to hold up to the Jets pass rush. No chance. And I would actually rather have Daniel Jones back in if that's the case, because I don't want Tyrod Taylor running around all over the place. I want a quarterback who's a little bit limited. Of course, Daniel Jones can run, but if his neck is still giving him problems, you got to figure that might limit his mobility too. The great Johnny Jimenez, my fellow Virginia Jets fan. I got the vintage shirt out here, the Chicago Jets fans, which was my group for a whole lot of years. I guess from 2000. Not 2000. Yeah, going back to the 90s. Yeah. I guess it was. Let me think. About 2008, I started. Yeah, 2008, I started hanging with them. Pretty much up until 2016. Yeah, 16, and then I moved to Virginia in 2017. We will beat the blue out of the Giants. Beat the blue so far out of them that they'll go back to the red uniforms. Those Giants Jet games, you can pretty much throw the script out because it's like Rangers Islanders in hockey. All bets are off. You just got to throw the record out and see what happens. But yeah, you know what? The Jets have done pretty well against the Giants, beating them the last 2 times. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and yeah, I'll definitely be breaking down that game. But yeah, I'll be paying some pretty good attention to the Giants in Washington this Sunday because I want to see how the Giants play after coming so close to beating Buffalo. All right, it's 10:59. I think it's close enough. So, yep, you know what time it is. Let's move on to one of the most anticipated parts of the show. It's time for trivia. All right. Now, mind the rules. I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to put it on the screen. I hope you like the PowerPoints. I'm doing some more. I want to give you some more visuals as opposed to just citing a bunch of numbers because I know that can get a little bit repetitive. So I'm hoping putting some of these numbers on the screen and different stats, it makes it a little bit, more real, and I hope it makes it a little bit more fun. So hope you all find that good. I'll keep doing it if you want. Yep, it is trivia time. Yes, Lee Cravat. It's always Lee Cravat. Yes. Lee Cravat, good guy. All right, here's your question. Remember, you have 5 minutes. Now, since the Jets are on a bye week, this is not going to be opponent specific. I think this question is going to be a little bit more manageable, one a little bit easier this week. So your question goes like this. How many Jets draft picks have been named first team All-Pro at least 3 times, and I need you to name them. All right? So how many Jets draft picks have been named first team All-Pro, not Pro Bowl, 3 times, and not necessarily with the Jets? All right? David D says Kevin McReynolds. Oh, yes, one of our all-time favorites. Is it Kevin McReynolds? No, sir. Johnny Jimenez, you always win. What can I say, man? All right, so 4 Jets have been named All-Pro at least 3 times. Can you name them? All right, Hank G says Nick Mangold. Believe it or not, it is not Nick Mangold. Mangold got it twice. Yeah. Yep, so pretty surprising, but yeah, it is not Nick Mangold. Some guy says Curtis Martin. Nope, not Curtis Martin. A lot of good running backs back then. So it's not him. Okay, Johnny Jimenez says Joe Klecko, Curtis Martin, and Nick Mangold. Nope, none of them are correct. David D says Jonathan Vilma. Nope, not correct there either. Yeah, guys are giving some good names, but none of them are correct. All right, Hank G says DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Afraid not, Hank. No, we haven't come up with one yet. Johnny says Brick and Klecko. Yep, we mentioned that. The FB they got from the Vikings. Oh, I think you're talking about Tony Richardson. I don't think fullback is included in the All-Pro. Yeah, I'm positive you mean Tony Richardson, but it's not him. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. No. Again, guys, Jets draft picks. So Favre and Rodgers were not Jets draft picks, okay? Ronnie Lott was not a Jets draft picks. Neither was Quincy Carter. So Jets draft pick. So that's why it wouldn't be Curtis Martin, because he wasn't a Jets draft pick. He was a Patriots pick, okay? Hank G says Darrelle Revis. Is it Darrelle Revis? You bet it's Darrelle Revis. Absolutely. Good job. Okay, so Revis is 1. You got 3 more, and y'all got 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. Yeah, I thought you meant Tony Richardson. Yeah. All good. Johnny Jimenez says Al 2. Afraid not. Good guess, but not quite. Mess says Vilma. Yep, Vilma was already guessed, but that is not a correct answer. So we got Darrelle Revis. There are 3 more players. Some guy says Jamal Adams. Some guy, sorry to tell you, but that is incorrect as well. Okay. Let me see if I can help you out. 1 offensive player and 2 defensive players. Hank G says Nick Folk. Nope, no special teams players on this list. We got 2 minutes left, guys. I know you can do this. Yeah, y'all got to call Curly Norman and get him in. He's like my foil when it comes to trivia. I saw him on Ryan's stream earlier, but unfortunately, I never see. Yeah, don't see him all that often here. Unfortunately, Johnny Jimenez says Larry. Larry who? Jets Mess says John Riggins. No, not John Riggins. I'm going to pull up Pro Football Reference just to be sure, because that actually, it would make sense that Riggins would have done it. Yeah, I think I want to do that just to be on the safe side. Yeah, I want to be 100% sure with you guys on this one. Kevin Mawai, nope. Johnny Jimenez, wait, I think I skipped one. Mark Gastineau, that is correct. Yep, Mark Gastineau is number 2. Leonard Williams and Mo Wilkerson, no. We mentioned Kevin Mawai. Hank G says John Abraham. Yes, John Abraham is correct. So you've got 3 correct answers, guys. And there we go. Now we got the 3 bells in. Yeah, all pros and Pro Bowlers. I'm pulling this back up. Yep. Mm-hmm. I don't know how. Oh. Yep. Yeah. Powell. Yeah. Gastineau, Revis. Yep. Gastineau, Revis. Okay. and Abraham, and there's one more player, offense. And we got, let's do a quick time check. How much time we got left here, guys? Oh, looks like we have, and we are out of time. As the congas are going off here. Yep, one offensive player left, guys. Yeah, offensive line. This is the surprising one. Granted, yeah, y'all got the three that made sense. This one's a little more surprising. So it's not Nick and it's not Brick and it's not Malai. Who could it be? Yeah, sorry, Hank. Yeah, I know. Hey, let me check one thing here. Mike DeVito. Okay. Yep. So that was the other answer is Marvin Powell. Yep. So the correct answers were Darrelle Revis, Mark Gastineau, Marvin Powell, and John Abraham. So those were the four. All right. Yep. So that is your trivia for tonight. Thanks everybody for playing along. Hope you had fun. And next week we'll have a little Jets Giants question for you as well. So I'll be going deep into the archives, looking up some Jets versus Giants history, and I'll come up with a question for you that hopefully will be a good challenge, but not too bad. Yeah, Alan Faneca. Yeah, I definitely believe he was All Pro 3 times for sure. But yep, not a Jets draft pick. Yep, exactly right. One more? Well, all right. Let me see. All right, let me see what I could do here. Let me see what I could do. Yeah, let me go into the wealth of Jets trivia that I got down here. I think I could find something here for us. Let me go into this other document here. It's going into my OneDrive where I keep all the trivia. So we'll have it for you in just 1 second. Yeah, just for Johnny, I'll give you guys one more question tonight. All right, I'm good with it. Okay. Let's do a jersey number question. I haven't done a jersey number question in a while. Name the only. Actually, I'm gonna type it here in the chat. Okay. Name the only jet. The last, not the only jet. No, that's not right. Name the last NY jet to wear number 59. Who was the last New York Jet to wear number 59? Some guy who was the lineman? It was Marvin Powell, left tackle from the late 70s and 80s. It was Marvin Powell. He was All Pro 3 times. Yeah, not a name you hear a lot about in Jets history, but hopefully he will get some recognition, maybe Ring of Honor or something like that. But yeah, people don't really talk about Marvin Powell, but he was a good Jet offensive lineman for a lot of years. Johnny Jimenez says Quincy. Not quite. No. Yeah, I'm gonna go back into some of these questions. I got to be honest. I got about 4 or 5 months ago, so I got to make sure they're all still correct, right? Let's see. Clifton, no clue at all. Jets mess. I don't think I've seen a number 59 in years. Johnny aced it. Yep, Johnny got it right on the nose. It's Kyle Clifton. No New York Jet has wore number 59 since Kyle Clifton. Isn't that amazing? And Kyle Clifton had been a Jet since the mid 90s. So that number's been out of circulation for about 30 years now. Isn't that crazy? So, you hear about like certain players, their numbers are like getting held off without being retired, that kind of a situation, like number 90 was with Dennis Byrd or 28 with Curtis Martin, that kind of a thing. But to think nobody has worn number 59 since Kyle Clifton. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I thought that was super wild. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to yes, very very well done as well. Pardon me. So I'll give you extra. I'll give you an extra. Extra time here. Good job. All right, guys. So just to let you know what we have coming up, tomorrow night I will be recording my confidence picks as I try to do better in my picks than I did the previous week. Yikes! And then we will. We're not going to be doing the obviously a game preview video like we normally do or the bowl predictions, but we'll be coming up with some stuff to talk about. And for those who haven't seen it yet, I did record a video today making a case for the 2020 Jets draft class, why it's not as bad as some people were saying. Okay. So definitely check that out. We go through the different picks and how one particular relationship in that draft class has really, really made a difference kind of under the radar. And just really how the perception of that class in my mind has changed over the first 6 weeks of the season. So I hope you'll check that video out. I thought it was a little bit of a challenge to take that project on, but I thought it turned out halfway decent. So, hey, I look forward to your feedback. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate everybody's support. And please share the channel with other folks. Let's get the word out, because the promotion, that's really the biggest battle here. So trying to get it out to different people. I need you guys to help me with it. So I appreciate you all very, very much. But thanks, everybody, for watching. And I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Channel.